Trevor Bauer has signed with the Doyers.
Let's talk about this.
Let's talk about that because I think he signed right around the same time that I think most of us thought he would. Like I don't know what. Can we move on from the expectation that before, call it 10 years ago, 15 years ago, like the mega free agents would sign around Christmas, and that was considered late. Now, if someone signs around Christmas, it's like, what? Like, if you have enough time on the clock to,
if you sign in December
offers, if you sign in December, even if you sign in January now, sometimes, I mean, for like the big name free agents, like our expectations, I mean, Manny Machado, Bryce, like all these guys, they've signed right up at the buzzer of when teams or players are supposed to be reporting.
It's almost, it's almost in now. Like, oh, bro, what do you got to report in a week? Oh, we report in a week and you already have a team? Oh, man,
loser.
Your market must suck. Wow.
Yeah.
Like that. That's not how it's always been. I feel like there's a lot to unpack here with the Bauer signing. So I don't want to get right into the signing. Okay. I want to ask you thoughts on, because this was billed. This was promoted. This was commercialized. We were put on notice that Trevor Bauer's free agency was going to be your source of entertainment for the offseason. Like, you're going to get what you want out of Trevor Bauer this offseason, folks. You're going to see free agency tackled and approached in a way that you've never seen it done before.
Do you feel like you didn't get that?
Oh, no. I'm not saying that. I'm saying I'm just laying out how his free agency was billed to the baseball world. And so that's what that question is now, is do we believe we got that? Was the Trevor Bauer free agency hype train everything you thought it was going to be, wanted it to be, and could be?
So I think one of the things that we get accused of often is coddling or sucking off guys that are friends of the podcast. So I'm not going to do that here. I think that most baseball fans got sick of the whole, like, where is he going? Like, most people were like, just fucking hurry up and sign. Like, people were like, it was fun in the beginning when he would put on the different hats and everything, and he would tweet where he was going and he would tease it. But then after months of that, like, fans of, like, the Mets, for example, they were like, stop playing with our emotions. Like, people stopped having fun with it. And then also fans of teams that knew that they weren't even in the running were like, I don't fucking care. So the market for it, I think kind of what, like, maybe I'm wrong for this, but I think the Blake Snell Padres trade really fucked with the entertainment value of the free agency, because by the end of it, you kind of narrowed down the suitors and you were like, it's not as wide of a pool as it appeared to be at the start of his free agency. I think it would have been way more entertaining for fans of potential suitors and fans who knew that Bauer wasn't coming to their team. Like, there weren't many rumors. Like, it wasn't like, hey, like, breaking news, like the Chicago White Sox reached out to Trevor Bauer and they're in discussions. Like, there weren't, like, it was basically just like the reports that we heard were that the Mets had made an offer and they were talking to Trevor Bauer. And we didn't even hear that until February.
But
and then the thing with the Dodgers. So I'll even say this. Bryn asked me to make a TikTok. She was like, can you make a TikTok where you go down the list of reasons why Trevor Bauer would sign with the Dodgers or sign with the Mets? And I was like, why would I even do that? Like, the last report that we got from the Dodgers was that they were like, yeah, like, we'd love to have you, but we don't need you. And
you said you feel like he's not even going there. You said, I don't feel like he's even going there.
That's what I was saying. I said the reports were that the Dodgers were like, yeah, it'd be nice to have you, but we don't need you. And we're just going to hang back and see if the price falls, because we don't think that there are a ton of teams in on you right now. So I was like, yeah, why even bother with the Dodgers, knowing that the Mets had a very aggressive offer out? So I was like, all right, if the Mets have this aggressive offer out, there really aren't any other suitors for Bauer, and the Dodgers don't appear all that motivated to sign Bauer, then why would we even entertain the idea that it's going to be anybody but the Mets?
So in my conversations with representation, that was something that I was reminded of consistently, was the other team that is involved here. You don't know who it is. And it's because they have been so quiet about everything that they've done. So let's go back to the way that Trevor Bauer and his agent, Rachel Luba, told us, not us like you and I, but told us, the baseball world, how things were going to go. We're going to squash any and all rumors that start to pop up right as they hit the sun. Like the minute that they break surface of the dirt and become a little rumor flower, I am going to pick that little rumor flower and rip every petal off that little rumor flower and blow it all to hell. You're not going to do that to my guy. And Trevor Bauer is saying, you're not going to do that to me. You're not going to throw out some mystery team. You're not going to railroad these negotiations. I'm going to control it. So when Trevor Bauer starts the shtick early on, you have to realize that's him trolling the market. That's him creating the market as well. And that's what's different than any other free agency ride that you've been on, is it's been the agent behind closed doors starting the negotiation process, getting that ball rolling. So what you've got this time was the player rolling that snowball downhill right next to his agent rolling that snowball downhill, and not letting anybody else throw a rock in their snowball that could surprise them later. They shut it all down. Mm-hmm. So from a transparency,
except for one.
What do you mean?
I forget what month it was. I think it might have been December, maybe. Did you see the rumor on Twitter that was getting some traction that Bauer was meeting with Cashman at his house in Connecticut?
No.
There was like a little Twitter rumor that was going around that Bauer had a meeting with Brian Cashman at his house in Connecticut, and I wanted to ask, but I didn't think I would get a straight answer. But I think that day Bauer posted like an Instagram story and like geotagged it that he was in Arizona. So like, I think it wasn't like a Passan or a Heyman or someone like that, but there was like some dude that is like a random Twitter user that will occasionally guess right and claim that he has sources. He was saying that Bauer had a meeting with Cashman that night, and then Bauer just posted, probably purposefully, that he was in Arizona.
Yeah, and see, like, the initial rumor is great for Bauer's camp. Why? Because that's another team in, and that's the New York Yankees specifically in, right? So he's okay with that. But now, if it were to ever get to a point where other teams would not be in because of who could potentially be after him, he wants to shut that down. And that's what they were able to do. So for me, it was an interesting look and an interesting approach to a player's free agency. I was intrigued watching him create the market for himself by virtue of his interactions on social media, because, like it or not, believe it or not, that played a huge role, in my opinion.
Well, I think, like you said, if it's rumored that the Yankees are in, like, that's a good thing. Like, you don't, like, you know, the whole stance of, if there's fake news out there, we're going to shut it down so that you have transparency with us and what's going on. But at the same time, strategically, you want other teams to think that other teams are in. Like, that's how you drive up the fucking price and create a market for yourself. And at the end of the day, yeah, like, it looked like the Mets were just going to be bidding against themselves. And then boom, the Dodgers come out of nowhere. And next thing you know, he's a fucking Dodger. So yeah, that's why I was thrown off. And the whole thing about, you know, the trolling and how he had like the Mets stuff, like the Mets t-shirts were already on his store and the signed Mets hats.
Well, he addressed that. He addressed that.
And I feel bad for him, because I'm sure, like, what does Trevor Bauer have to gain from trolling Mets fans before he signs with the Dodgers? It's not like
that's the situation you put yourself in when you and when I say when you behave like Trevor, I'm not knocking him for what he's done. I'm saying when you act the way he's acted and has done the shit he's done on Twitter, when something like that goes up, it's almost like the boy who cried wolf thing. Like, do you really expect us to believe that you didn't have anything to do with that based on your past record of trolling and how you've behaved? And it's like, well, yeah, I don't think he did that, because he does have a team of people that are in place to help him with these things. And that one got away. That's how that happened.
Yeah,
and
I think that was an honest fuck up.
Yeah, he didn't sign himself up to do that, to then have to turn around and what's he donating? Like over 150 grand or whatever it is to New York based charities. Like
Something
that's
like that, yeah.
That's him going, hey, look, my bad. I can totally see how that would piss you off and blah, blah, blah. So that wasn't me. I'm taking full responsibility for it because it's my team, which means it's me. And I do feel bad about how that went. So please let this be an offering so you understand. I wasn't just trying to drive the knife in and twist it on your fan base. That's not how I roll. I trolled you up until the very last moment that I possibly could. And then I made my decision and I was a professional about it. But then I realized that you motherfuckers were buying signed Mets merch, and I'm not a New York Met. So let me help you out with a donation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think ultimately it was, I'm not going to say it was the right decision. I think it was the right decision either way. Like, you go and join the Mets rotation, what they've got over there and what they're building up in Queens. That would have been exciting to see. But now he's going to the Dodgers, where it's like defending world champs. You join a rotation of Walker Buehler, Clayton Kershaw, Dustin May, Urias, fucking Price. I mean, like you're joining like the mega powers over there. And not to say that I mean, it's a fucking great fit. I mean, like, they're like now, and I think you made this point a couple episodes ago. If he joins that rotation, it's like, well, now you kind of have the option of putting Dustin May in the bullpen if you want. Not May, that I would do that.
Urias.
Yeah, Gonsolin isn't even fucking mentioned. Like, when we talk about, like, this dude was nails in the rotation in 2020, and he's not like, they're already 6 deep in that rotation without mentioning Gonsolin. So yeah,
I like the fit, not only for that reason, because the obvious depth here, but what I have said about Trevor Bauer and what his teammates have touted him for, and why the San Diego destination was so sexy early on for me and intriguing, because yes, the Clev is there, but think about the young guys in that rotation that they've got, the impact that Trevor Bauer could have on those dudes should that team be able to mesh the way that you hear about pitching staffs coming together. Well, now Bauer can bring that. He brings that to LA as well. He brings that everywhere he goes. But now I wonder, like, is this a matter of, and I'm not saying he's teaching old dogs new tricks here. He's not taking Clayton Kershaw and turning the clock back 7 years and regaining the 96 and blah, blah, blah. But you do have some impressionable arms in that rotation on that staff. And a guy like Trevor Bauer plugged into place with some of these new wave and new aged approaches to the craft, maybe they're thinking about that kind of impact as well. I mean, could you imagine
Trevor Bauer taking Dustin May into the Bauer lab?
Trevor Bauer taking a Walker Buehler and a Dustin May. The amount of fuck you between Walker Buehler and Dustin May is palpable when you're in the building with those two. Palpable. You can feel them wanting to steal your soul on the pitcher's mound. Now you put those two absolute pitching freaks in a laboratory and you give them the resources to coach themselves. You give them the resources to better themselves and correct themselves on a completely different level now. I said it a couple days ago. I'll say it again with total confidence. Walker Buehler will absolutely win a Cy Young Award. And a guy like Trevor Bauer coming into his world at this stage in his career could only be beneficial if you're somebody who is open to new information and new techniques. And I have to believe that those two dudes, May and Buehler and the rest of that staff, are here to fuck shit up.
Yeah, it's a joke. And I know that, you know, there are a lot of bitter not even just Mets fans, but just baseball fans in general, are like, oh my God, he's getting $40 million a year and he's got a career ERA of 3.9. It's like, you're not looking at it correctly. All due respect, I'm sure there are a lot of very intelligent baseball fans out there that are just bitter, and they do know the difference of Trevor Bauer in 2020 and Trevor Bauer prior to 2020. It's a different guy, different techniques being used. And when you're talking about a guy who's in a stage of his career where he knows his body better than anyone, and he knows how to prepare for a season, the way that he can put himself in a position to best succeed better than anyone, you can't compare Trevor Bauer in 2021 to as recently as 2019. It's already two different people. Like, it really is.
Well, you're talking about a dude who increased the RPMs on his slide piece by 400, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So that's a different guy. That's a different pitch.
It's a different guy.
That's a completely different animal.
And the Dodgers know that. So,
unquestioned best rotation in the game right now.
Yeah. Who would come close right now?
Nats.
Yeah, the Nats have a very good rotation.
And the Padres, but that's a lower, I don't want to call it a lower tier because that sounds super disrespectful.
And you just don't have Clev next year, so I can't even like fully acknowledge that yet.
Right. So yeah, I think it's not really close.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to give like a tip of the cap to the Mets too. I mean, just because they didn't add Bauer doesn't mean that they're no slouch rotation either at this point.
No, that's very solid with those dudes. Bauer, or not Bauer, excuse me, DeGrom, Stroh. They got
Thor.
Yeah, Thor. Well, he'll be on the rebound.
Mm-hmm.
But so now, I mean, we're talking about the Padres. How big of a gap exists between the San Diego Padres and the Los Angeles Dodgers now? Like, is this the gap like from the street to the curb? Is this like the Grand Canyon gap? Like is this a supermodel thigh gap? Like, how big of a gap is this?
Fuck, it's a great question because you don't want to get too excited about a 60-game season, and
it is a chasm.
You were the one to point out that if we had played 162 last year, I know a lot of people were excited about the San Diego Padres last year and the progress that they made and the excitement that they created in the baseball world. But if they played a full 162, the gap in that division is probably a little bit more sizable. Fair. So now that they've gone out and added Trevor Bauer to their rotation, am I fair in saying that I'm going to take the over on 6.5 games.
Oh, 6.5. Yeah. Well,
yeah.
So let me make it a little sweeter then. Do they finish within single digits of the Los Angeles Dodgers? Do the Padres finish within single digits of the Los Angeles Dodgers?
I'm going to say they finish 9 games back of the Dodgers.
Because that was one of the first things that jumped in my brain was, did this division just go from being competitive to seeing October again? Like one pitcher? Like Bauer to the Dodgers absolutely does that.
Well, Bauer to the Dodgers, but also you have to consider what we just talked about. Like he's going to make the other guys around him in that rotation even better.
True. He's also got to deal with one Manny Machado.
Yeah, he does. His biological father.
Oh, God.
So before the series, I'm like, oh, man, Machado, he's my dad. I can't get the guy out. Whatever, right? I call him the Holy Ghost because he's like he's like past like Jesus. He's
sure,
like,
he's
all the way there.
He's looking down.
He's like, all right. So I'm like, before the series, I'm telling him like, oh yeah, I'm gonna face my daddy, but this is the year. Like, I'm gonna get him this year. I'm determined. Like, he can't own me forever. I'm gonna get him this year. I got it. I'm fully confident. Slider like this far off the plate, 3-0. He hasn't budged once. He hasn't attempted to swing, nothing. He hasn't loaded, not a single thing.
Just statue.
I'm like, he must just be taking till he gets a strike, right? So I was like, he's looking for something up, out, over that he can get extended on and crush. I'm going in. So I throw him a ball that's like on the black. It's like 95 in, and he just whack, and just hits a freaking missile like just way gone to
First
center.
time our whole dugout when someone else in a run was like, ah, let's go.
I can't wait for that. I can't wait for that. That is right now to date the most highly anticipated at bat of the 2021 season for me.
Mhm.
I need to see that first at bat. I want to see the at bat, like fast forward and give me no, you know what? I'm here. Where's Machado going to hit? Third? Probably going to hit third?
Third, fourth, yeah.
So Bauer punches out the first two. And now he's got it. Now this is the showdown. First, Bauer's not starting opening day. So would it be a third day? Yeah, you've got
Machado would hit third. I mean, I get that there's a lot of respect in the Dodgers organization and everything. How do you pay a pitcher $40 million and he's your like number 2 starter?
He is number 2, I guess, behind Buehler. That's the like. It's so
he's
crazy.
Also, it's not even that. He's the reigning Cy Young Award winner. How do you not? You give that guy $40 million. He just won the Cy Young Award, and he's going to be your second or third starter.
And also, a little side note, fun fact. How about a nug? Greg Maddux in 1992 was the last pitcher to win the Cy Young Award and hit the free agent market at the same time. 1992. Okay. We haven't seen a Cy Young winner hit the free agent market after winning a Cy Young Award in forever.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen them get traded.
Sure have. Saw that happen earlier.
Pedro in 97 won the Cy Young Award, got traded to the Red Sox. I think R.A. Dickey, didn't he win the Cy Young and then get traded to Toronto?
Did he get traded? I thought he just signed.
Well, then that would make your trivia question wrong. I think he got traded because isn't that how the fucking Mets got Syndergaard?
The R.A. Dickey move. I think you're right.
Yeah. So they've been traded, but for a free agent to walk onto a new squad with the Cy Young
like this
under his arm and not start on opening day. I believe you too. I'm with you. I think it is going to be Walker Buehler, but
think about the rotation. Think about that conversation in that room when you're the pitching coach and you're the manager trying to figure out landing spots for guys in the rotation, and you're like, all right, well, who do we want to? Well, maybe we hold on. We've got 3 Cy Youngs to choose from here.
They should just do like a ping pong lottery.
And the other 2 guys are not bad either. So I feel like we don't really like. At times you think that shaping up a rotation in a certain manner can help guys or take pressure off of guys. What it means, I think, is Clayton Kershaw will always have the pressure that he has on himself every time he takes the mound. The expectation of greatness, the expectation of perfection, that will never wane for Kershaw. Come the 6th, 7th inning.
How many more strikeouts does he need for 3,000? I know he's over 2,500.
Come the 6th inning, that energy can change a little bit. And Kershaw 10 years ago might have been motivated and excited to try to get through 7 and 8. Well, now, knowing where he's at in his career, the other guys in the rotation, he doesn't feel the pressure to have to put forth those kinds of performances for the team's sake. He knows, all right, 6 quality innings here. I can take it to the house. I don't need to go 110 pitches into this ball game to eliminate bullpen usage and blah, 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 blah. So maybe Clayton Kershaw is able to take a big breath of fresh air.
Especially, and that's one of the points that I was going to make earlier when we were talking about being 6, 7 guys deep. If you consider Gonsolin, let's also consider that it's been a long time since Clayton Kershaw has been able to make 30, 32 starts in a season. So like, you're going to need those guys. Like you're going to need Arias to be able to go from the bullpen to the rotation. Gonsolin, same thing, maybe Dustin May. It seems like the Dodgers now have an embarrassment of riches, which they do, but I mean, Bauer in theory is going to be the guy. Like he's going to be the bulldog that goes out there and makes those 32 starts and throws 220 innings or whatever it ends up being. Like he's going to be that guy because Kershaw's not that guy anymore.
What do you got for him in 2021 then? Because there's something that factors into this.
Kershaw or Bauer?
For Bauer. What do you got for Bauer in 2021? What's the outlook for Bauer? I don't need a specific line or anything like that. Just what are your expectations?
I expect him to, especially because now you talk about like the blisters with Buehler. Like I expect Bauer to lead that rotation and starts in innings. Not necessarily, it doesn't have to be like a pissing contest with strikeouts. Although, when we interviewed him in spring training of
he'll
2019,
turn it into one.
Correct. Like he will turn it into a competition amongst those guys. Like who's going to lead the team in strikeouts and all that. Which is, a healthy competition within. That you have to do that shit when you're the Dodgers. And it's like, well, we really don't have that much, like all due respect to the Padres, we don't have that much of a threat for the division. So we got to keep some sort of competitive juices flowing. So we'll compete with each other. Fair. I expect him. That's my big expectation is Trevor Bauer will lead the Dodgers in starts and innings pitched.
Yeah. Because there's no universal DH, right?
Nope.
So he's got a
free out.
He's got a little bit of a breather. Well, and Jared, it's 2. A pitcher of his caliber, that should be 2 outs. Because that poor soul that's in the 8-hole, hardly knew you. You're going to get diced the fuck up. Mm-hmm. You are going to get diced. You're going to get pitched to like you're hitting 350 with 40. You're going to have no chance because if Trevor Bauer gives up, and we're going to have to get him on again so we can come up with a bet here. If Trevor Bauer gives up a hit to a pitcher, he's going to be beside himself. You should absolutely be looking at that as, like you said, that's a free out. That is your air hole. If you're a seal in the Arctic trying to get away from that giant leopard seal, or maybe you're a penguin looking for a little place to shuttle your little black and white tuxedo wearing ass up out of the frozen Arctic. That's what the pitcher is in the lineup for Trevor Bauer.
Yeah. And I know that we talked about like the way that they handled free agency and everything. I'm very excited to see whatever the post-production project looks like because, obviously they're not going to be releasing clips from behind the scenes as it's happening live. But now that it's over, we're going to get to see like, these reports pop up and like Trevor's reaction. Like, it's like, oh, like, this report comes out and like their reaction to it. And like, I'm sure that they're going to be videoing calls that they had with teams. I'm sure they're going to video the moment that he made the decision. Like they're going to like video the moment where they have to call the Mets and be like, hey, just letting you know, we've chosen the Dodgers, which you knew that the leak, like Heyman's obviously got a source with the Mets because the second that he informed the Mets that he was picking the Dodgers, Heyman had Bauer to the Dodgers. So, Bauer wasn't like everyone talked about how he was going to do like the LeBron decision video announcement, whatever. Bauer didn't get to announce his own free agent decision because Heyman broke it first. So that was the Mets just being like, all right, fuck this guy. We're going to ruin whatever plans he has to make this a grand announcement.
Thank you for bringing this full circle, because at the end of all of it, if we are gauging success based on who controlled the narrative and who delivered the information, what I'm about to say might shock some of you, and you might not agree with it whatsoever, and that's fine. But based on those 2 criteria I just set up, who controlled the narrative and who delivered the information, it's a fail for Trevor Bauer.
Because he didn't break his own signing.
Because that is exactly why you did this. And you can't tell me otherwise. You can't.
To be able to break his own signing?
That's it. You wanted to control the narrative, and you wanted to be the one who delivered the message. And you thought that was going to happen only on your YouTube channel. You thought that you were going to be the one. And you were mistaken. And I'm not saying that there wasn't some sort of understanding, like, hey, the minute you feel like you're going to say yes in your heart, that is the only time that you are in control of your message. The minute you divulge that to anybody in your camp, you need to understand that information has to go somewhere else to keep these balls rolling.
Mm-hmm.
And the minute that happens, the minute that somebody gets called in a doctor's office, the minute that somebody needs to plan a physical, the minute your narrative is gone. You don't control it. Whether you believe that or not, that's not for me to decide. But the fact is, you put together this huge free agency push and promotion, ultimately to eliminate the hearsay and the back channeling and to be the deliverer of your own message. And that wasn't the case.
It wasn't the case.
So to your point, we'll get the edited versions of all of the conversations and the back and forths and stuff. And that will be great. That will be awesome. Please don't take this, what I'm saying, negatively. These are just facts. Like what you're talking about, the videos on how all those conversations, that's going to be awesome content. Shit that we've never really seen before. That's going to be phenomenal. But at the end of it all, if the idea of you telling the Dodgers fans from your mouth that you were coming is what you were after, that didn't happen.
Didn't happen. Happened soon after.
It happened very soon after, minutes,
Yeah.
mere minutes after.
Mhm.
But if we're playing the Twitter credit game, Trevor Bauer would have to credit John Heyman
Oh no.
for his free agency announcement.
Yeah, he would. He would. And I'm sure Heyman took a lot of pleasure in being
Spoiling
the one
that
to
party.
yes,
Yes,
because
absolutely,
he
because-
has developed quite the rivalry with Bauer and his camp.
Yeah, I mean, you heard his representation talking about some of the approaches by agents trying to extract information. At times, it sounded like it was forceful and sort of pushy and lacked tact at times. And so when that back and forth is going on, and somebody's given the ability to jack up the game-winning shot without passing it to the star of the team, well, John Heyman is firing that sumbitch up from half court.
It pissed me off a lot, to be honest. I didn't.
I mean, it like, look, dude, I didn't want it to go down. I wanted Trevor Bauer's YouTube announcement to be the way that the world found out. I
Mhm.
absolutely wanted that because he did put all of the effort into telling us what to expect during this offseason. And then here
He
comes
did.
fucking Heyman, who wasn't even invited to the fucking birthday party, blowing out the candles.
Mm-hmm. Were you surprised?
Nope.
You
because
weren't.
because I know how that shit works. I know, Jared. Look, that was one of the
I
most
mean,
exciting
the
things for
motherfucker had Mets T-shirts printed up, ready to go on his website, and then had to take them down when people discovered them. You
Well,
thought he was going to the Dodgers?
Oh, I thought I guess I didn't understand the question. I thought you were asking me, did I expect this to happen? Like how it happened, the
Oh
announcement
no
and
no
him
no
being.
no.
Yeah, the Dodgers thing was just that was a destination outside of San Diego for me that made sense because of their flexibility and their willingness to spend the money that they spent. Because what are they? They won't go over the luxury tax.
Oh yes, they will. They blew past it.
Well, no. So what I'm saying is, the first year is a 20% hit,
Mm-hmm.
and then after $240 million, they take another 30% hit.
It's something ridiculous. It goes up exponentially year over year until you reset. I should know this word for fucking word the way that I had to deal with this last year, but yeah, it's you can get up to being 100% taxed. I think by like
And
the
just
third or
some
fourth year.
just some quick little details on that on the contract. The contract, as it sets right now, is more than the total payroll for the Pirates, for the Orioles, and for the Indians. Pirates at 30 mil, O's at 34.2, and the Tribe at 36.5 mil right now. The Dodgers do lose their second highest draft pick and $500 to international slot money because Trevor Bauer was
$500?
offered
I mean, a
$500,000.
lot.
Was offered the qualifying offer by Cincinnati. Interesting note here. In year 2 and 3 of his deal as a Los Angeles Dodger, Trevor Bauer can make what Kevin Brown made in the last 6 of the 7 years he signed when he signed his $100 million deal as a Los Angeles Dodger. That deal was for 7 years, $105 million. Trevor Bauer can make. It's just fucking insane to
Crazy.
say.
You can make it in 3 years. Well, he's got the opt out after 1, correct?
Right. He's got the opt out. He's got the opt out after 1 and 2.
Yeah, so you can
So it's
opt
gonna
out
go-
every
Yeah,
year.
it's go 40 mil, 45, 45. So in year 2 and 3, he's going to make roughly what Kevin Brown made in the last 6 years
Of his
his
$100 million
of his $100
deal.
million
Yeah,
contract.
yeah. I mean, and by the way, just to bring it back to a point that, or a discussion that we had a year ago, maybe longer, about very soon we're going to see a player making $40 million a year. I think it was around when Mike Trout signed his extension.
Yes.
And
yes, it was all.
You,
It was
you,
all in.
you misremember how this went down. Me and
No,
Jay
no, no.
Hay weren't like, "Fuck you, you're full of shit."
And I was never
I-
saying no. I had
thought-
never said either one of you guys were that voice. That was not what I've said at any point in time.
Yeah,
I
I
was
thought it
never
was going to take like 10 years.
Yeah,
I
no,
didn't
I
think
was-
it was going to take a year.
I was never saying that you specifically and
What
Jay.
does Trout make?
I was speaking in generalities that like people, when I said that people were going to be or that Trevor Bauer, because this was all on the heels of the Garrett Cole signing. And we're talking about what kind of money is Garrett Cole going to get. And I was like, well, these fucking people aren't signing anybody. They're not going to commit long-term deals to these guys. And this was just in the face of contracts not being offered, guys getting lowballed. I was like, yeah, what did I say? Garrett Cole not going to make $100 million because they're not going to sign him up for fucking 10 years or whatever. And what do? They signed Garrett Cole up for 10 years, fucking $350 fucking million.
Yeah.
And I
Trout
said,
gets 35.45 million annually between 21 and 30.
yeah, that's incredible. And so my point was, all right, so then if I'm thinking they're not going to sign Garrett Cole to this decade-year deal with $500 million, do we see a point where a guy just says, fuck it, I'm taking 40 mil for a year, 40 mil, 50 mil for a year? And I said, what's going to prevent teams from rolling the dice on that? If they're going to capture what they think they're going to capture on the front end of that deal,
Yeah.
then load up that front end. And that's what the Dodgers have done right now. So I'll tell you right now, if the Dodgers do not win a World Series while Trevor Bauer is on that team, that is a failed contract, because they are loading up the front end of that contract, anticipating the return of a World Series push multiple times over with
Yeah,
Trevor
for
Bauer.
sure.
So
No doubt.
so again, I appreciate you giving me the credit for that,
Yeah.
but I would also
I mean,
like
it makes
to be-
perfect sense. Like
It does.
It makes perfect sense.
I'm a fucking
on both
genius.
sides.
I was a genius long before my time.
I mean, the
just wanted to-
tinfoil hat finally paid off.
I just
mean,
wanted to
it's-
make sure that you guys
Still
didn't
haven't
think-
seen Bigfoot. Aliens haven't landed on Earth yet, and the COVID-19.
Whoa, aliens! You want to fucking walk that back, pal? You want to walk that back about the aliens?
I haven't seen one.
I don't care if you haven't seen them; they're here.
I think Jose Canseco just fought at Rough and Rowdy, so I guess there is proof of some sort of unnatural being on Earth. But I think the idea that instead of giving a Garrett Cole fucking 9-year, $340 million contract, where it's like, yeah, that's just to get him to say yes, we're gonna have to, deal with those shitty years at the end, or we could try to entice a player where it's like, all right, yeah, we'll give you $45 million a year over
'cause
3
what?
years.
His deal is like roughly a third of the value of Garrett Cole's,
Mm-hmm.
because it's roughly a third of the duration of
Mhm.
Garrett Cole's contract.
Yeah, it's. I mean,
Right?
and then I was saying,
Roughly,
The-
give or take a few 30 mil here, 40, whatever. You get
Yeah.
what I'm saying.
And then people were like, I tweeted something along the lines of like, well, he may not have broken Garrett Cole's total value for.
He's the
dollars.
highest paid player in baseball for the
Yeah,
next
but-
2
but I was
years,
like, he
and a
broke
guy
the
named
average
Mike
annual
Trout.
value record.
Yeah, like you're getting paid more than Mike Trout.
Yeah, a
Like,
lot
that's
more.
That's a thing to say. Like, what are you doing today? Nothing. What about tomorrow? Nothing. What about 2 days from now? Fucking nothing. What about the next day after that? Oh, I'll pitch that day. oh, and
Trevor
you're gonna-
Trevor Bauer is making $10 million more than Mike Trout over the last 2 years of his deal. He's making $5 million more in 2021, and then
Like-
22 and 23 he's making $10 million more a year.
like Mike Trout. We could say this about Miggy. We could say this about Kershaw. We could say this about Verlander. But like Mike Trout is 1000% an active Hall of Famer right now.
Mhm.
And you're making more money than that active Hall of Famer, right? Sure, more Miggy than Kershaw, more Miggy than Trout, more money than Miggy, more Verlander. But Mike Trout is the best fucking player on the planet, current Hall of Famer, and you're making $10 million more than that guy.
Yeah.
And
I
you
mean,
only
I
play-
guess that's just more of a tip of the cap to Trout, because it's like he was asked the question, how much more fucking money do you really need? And he was like, this is fine. You
Yeah.
know, like I'm happy with this.
I was good
team.
on the
I'm
144.
yeah. Yeah. Like I'm good. Like, you know, I'm happy to stay here. And then he ended up getting 12 years, $426.5 million. So
Yes. Oh, so let me give it to Bauer. Congratulations, Trev. You have officially been bringing up chicken titties.